Hello everybody, and today going to bring you some news about the waste industry. I'm just going to have to get it up on my phone, which is in a holder, by the way. So first of all, Ashvill, he's decided to call it a day on all his trucks. I did a video a few months ago about Ashvill and I got absolutely roasted. I got called a hater, a sad bastard sat in his van, which is probably right, and many other things. A lot of people put comments about him that he does dodgy things and all that lot, but I don't care about any of that. You know, like I said in the video, Daniel can certainly spend money, and if you've watched my video for the last 12 months, I've told everybody to steady down, batten down the hatches and everything else. You know, the Labour government, and I know now about politics, but you know, they're doing things a lot differently. You know, they've put a lot of increase on minimum wage, on, you know, landfill taxes going up, and, you know, everything else. There's so many things going up. And what's happened is it sucked the pot dry. So, you know, you might have £1 million, but every, you know, Daniel might have £1 million in the bank, but every month it's been going down by 10 grand, you know, another a year or two. They sit there and they look at it and they're like, Jesus Christ, you know, we're going upside down here. And like I've said for a long time, it's always handy to have yourself, you know, as cheap a gear as you can afford to run. You know, cheap lorries, they don't always have to be brand new and fancy and smart. And, you know, and he said in his video about the asset finance that he has to pay, you know, a payment, and they've not done the finance for him. So when they've looked at it, the finance company have probably thought it's too much of a risk with the economy, which I understand. We apply for credit places, you know, we don't owe anybody any money at all. We've got no finance whatsoever, really. And then you apply for an account somewhere and they say, you know, you've got £1,000 credit limit or no credit limit or whatever. The insurance companies who insure debts and issue a credit limit to a company, so if you don't pay it, they pay it because you're insured. If you go to a company now, you open an account, the credit companies that guarantee that money that you'll pay it, it's based on your account and the money you're making. And what they're doing is they're making it a lot smaller. So a lot of your credit limits, even if you pay on time, you've had no problem, they're reducing them because it reduces their exposure to the market. So if they say to somebody, right, we'll insure you for 10 grand, but it used to be 20 grand. If you tip 11 grand's worth of waste, that's it, you can't tip anymore, you've got to make a payment. And that might be what's affecting, you know, that Daniel. It might not necessarily be that his business is in any particular trouble. He has, you know, hinted at the fact that he's in trouble for quite a while, because he's been, you know, doing videos, we're going to go bust tomorrow, we're going to go bust tomorrow, we're going to go bust tomorrow, and all stuff like that. And I have thought that he's been putting the idea into everybody's heads that, you know, the day might come where he is really struggling. And like I've said all along, if you've got a business in this economy where wages are going up, and I'm talking about minimum wage, but minimum wage pushes everything up, you need to be as efficient as you can and spend as little money. And like I said, if you've got to find a payment of 200 grand per month for 20 or 30 trucks or 40 trucks, it's a lot of money to find, you know, and eventually it becomes too much to find and you have to sell everything, you know, and that's it. You know, I don't know any of the details, and, you know, he seems like a great guy and he's got a great opinion, you know, and a great attitude about it, really. You know, he's tried a million things and some things work and some things don't. But I think Ashvill as a brand, I think it was working. It's just, it looks to me, you know, like when you watch some of his videos and he's got an helicopter to go there and he's done that. He's done a lot of content for YouTube and spent money doing it. And, you know, YouTube don't pay a lot of money. You get, I mean, I get pennies off every video. It's literally pennies. And, you know, it's more about promoting my business, which is, you know, quite relatable, so somebody in another part of the country can watch a video about our skip bodies or whatever it is, and we can do business with them. The problem is, like I've said all along with Ashvill, and I still stand by it, his videos are so good, there was catering to that many different people who are not interested in the waste industry, but they're interested in him, that it makes his business no stronger. And I've, you know, what I've said, you know, has been kind of proved right, because obviously he's got a good concrete business, he's got a good, you know, his full business is based around aggregates and a railway line. What I would say is if he's going to just concentrate on selling aggregate, it's a difficult game to be in, especially if you have no lorries. You know, if you're going to get an haulage rate off somebody to go deliver it and stuff like that, and you can't make it pay with your own lorries, well, how are you going to make it pay if you're paying more money out so somebody else can earn a bit more money on top of that? You know, obviously you're going to give your customer the price, and like I've said all along, if you've got big finance to pay and you've got fancy cars to pay for, that pushes the price up all the time, which is you know, always going to make you a little bit less competitive than other people, and that is just the way it goes. And if you can have a tipping truck that's 25 grand and it can go in London, it's Euro 6, it's got the cameras fitted, you know, and it costs you, let's say it costs you 500 quid a month in maintenance, which would be quite a lot, wouldn't it, over the year? If you spend 6 grand a year on that truck and it costs you 25, some of them new lorries, you know, they're going to be 200 grand. As soon as you drive them out and you put a bit of rubbish in the back of them or a bit of soil, you've knocked 50 grand straight off it, but you've still got the finance payment based on a 200 grand truck. And that is where you can, you know, these big companies, they go bust out the blue. Little companies usually struggle, and sort of like get through a bad time, where your big companies, they fly in and they just go bust all of a sudden. There's a big caravan company where I live, they employ hundreds of people. You know, they've been on quiet, you know, it's been quiet there, but all of a sudden they've just gone in and said, right, the doors are shut. They're called Atlas Caravan. So there's about 250 people local to me, and they've all just been laid off, and it come completely out the blue. It was only a few weeks ago. They'd got bigger orders and stuff like that, and this is all to do with the economy sucking any profit out of anything you can do, because people don't have the money to buy or get work done. You know, and I've noticed that, like in the skip industry, people haven't got as much money to do home improvements. Builders aren't getting as much work. There ain't as much skips. You can tell that by builders are, you know, are touting for work. During COVID, you couldn't get a builder. You'd be paying, you know, 3-4 grand a week for a builder. Now, you know, they're struggling to find day-to-day work, and that's the economy. And building is massively linked to how the economy is looking. So if people are building houses, buying houses, houses are moving between people, you know, it's a good reflection on the economy, where if you drive around now, you see a lot of for sale signs and they stay there for months, where before it was, you know, 2 weeks and it'd be gone, where now, you know, you're struggling to sell things. So anyway, from there, if you are in the waste industry, the government have decided to, and I'll read this, I've scanned over it. So it says basically the government have taken a green step, and what they're going to do is they're going to include some incinerators in 2028 in the carbon emissions tax. So if you take your rubbish, for instance, into an incinerator now, they don't get taxed on any of the emissions that they release, or it might be a lower rate or whatever. I don't know the rates, and I'm no expert in it, so, you know, I'm taking this off the government's website. I'm no expert, but I have been told to prepare for changes in the waste industry. So biomass may be changing in, you know, a normal waste. And reading this, basically what it says is that if you burn coal or anything that releases a lot of emissions, gas, coal, all that sort of stuff, you get taxed by how much pollution that your plant makes. If you're doing renewable energy, which could be, you know, you're burning waste, you're burning wood, whatever, you are exempt from any of that tax because it's a renewable source. I don't see how plastic and stuff is renewable, but anyway, right now they don't bother taxing it, or if they do, it'll be at a certain rate, which is a lot lower than all the other power generation schemes. What the government are saying is in 2028 they're proposing to include that into the same scheme as a coal biomass plant or whatever else. So if you're burning coal and if you're burning oils and stuff like that, I presume plastic will release a similar amount of emissions as if you're doing coal and burning diesel or something like that. So it's going to be, there's going to be some massive fluctuations in prices. What they're saying is that our economy now and our infrastructure is capable of accepting more recyclable plastic and stuff like that. Being somebody who recycles plastic and rubbish and crap all day long, all it's going to do is make people just go to landfill. And I have had this conversation many times before, that there's a cost to have somebody picking out the rubbish and doing this and doing that. it'll be cheaper if incinerators are going to, you know, slam 10, 20 quid a tonne on, or whatever they're going to do. It will push that up to the point where it's not even worth recycling, because some things are so difficult to recycle. Dirty plastic, you know, pizza boxes and stuff like that. Yeah, it's cardboard, but it's covered in grease and, you know, pizza base and everything else. Some things just can't be recycled, and they're the main things that go to incineration. So it's going to be quite a turbulent time in the waste industry. Who knows what's going to happen? You know, Ashvill should be a little bit of a, you know, a key indicator to what the economy is doing, because he's right in the forefront of it. He's on the internet. You know, people talk about him. You know, he's a big guy in the industry, and obviously he's saying, you know, I'm struggling to make it work. So that should, you know, tell you everything that you need to know about the economy as a whole, the waste economy, you know, moving soil and hardcore and stuff like that. What he does, it's difficult. And, you know, like I've said about the, you know, the Ashvill situation and everything else, the full, you know, the full economy is taxed to death, to the point where it's worth doing things that you shouldn't do. And that's what happens. You know, flour tipping's up 10%. I'll do another video about that, but flour tipping's up 10 or 15% this year from last year. When that landfill tax goes up, I mean, we've already told our customers we're going to need about 170 quid a tonne, and that's going to be stuff we can recycle. Even though the landfill tax and what you pay to landfill things or going to incinerators about 130 quid a tonne, 140 quid a tonne after you've paid everything, bit of transport, you need that money to pay your wages, which are going to be sky high. You know, your wages bill, if you've got 40, 50 staff, you're talking, you know, £50 an hour more. You know, it's, yeah, sorry. Yeah, if you've got, say, 100 members of staff and you're going up £1 an hour, you know, you're £100 an hour more, or whatever it's going to be, plus the national insurance, then your holiday pay and everything else. You know, it's going to be to the point where recycling is almost a business that is, it'll end up run by the bloody mafia. Who knows what's going to happen? It's going to be such a mad time to sit back and watch what the regulators do, and, you know, and see what, you know, where we all end up, because it's changing so much. I remember years ago we just used to pick and skip up. You'd take a bit of wood out, take a bit of metal out, take your soil and hardcore, and everything else just went to somebody else or went to tip or whatever. You take the basics out, where now there's so many different variables that affect the market that who knows? Who can make a prediction? Because I certainly can't. If they do this renewable tax, it's going to push up the price of going into an incinerator 20 quid, which means it's going to be cheaper to go to landfill. Who knows what's going to happen? Well, I'm just going over the Humber Bridge and I'm going to pay me money on my phone. So that's, you know, the big news this week, I suppose. There's a few other bits, but I'll do another video. There's no point rushing into sticking everything in one video. And I will see you all soon. Take care, and I hope you make plenty of money this week. Cheers.